Hello viewers, welcome to our channel Universe Revealed. Today we will talk about Atlantis. Atlantis is not something new. We heard about it many times in many ways. In the history books, story books, scientific books. Lately must be the Aquaman. The hero is Atlantis inhabitant. If we go back to the details, do you know what is Atlantis and where is it? Atlantis is one of the Plato's famous stories about the destruction of the ancient civilization. Name Atlantis represents a story about a moral spiritual people who lived in a highly advanced utopian civilization around 10 to 20,000 years ago. Their home was made up of concentric islands separated by wide moats and linked by a canal that penetrated to the center. The lush islands contained gold, silver, and other precious metals, including orichalcum, the meat metal. Remember this name. We will talk about it later. If not in this episode, then the next one. There was a great capital city on the central of island. The size of it was enormous. Plato says it was larger than Libya and Asia combined. Libya that Plato talked about is not the country Libya in North America. It was the continent in old era, covering the area from the Nile east back to the countries south of Mediterranean. It means the side of Atlantis was as big as two continents together. The civilization was wiped out by a great earthquake and flood that turned the sea into an impassable muddy bank. From this collapsed civilization, it is believed that the survivors traveled across the globe, where they resettled and lived. After listening to the story of Atlantis, I believe no one can resist for all these questions. Where was Atlantis? Is it real? If it's real, where is the survivors now? Let's find out the first two questions answer in this episode and leave the last question for the next episode, because the journey to find out about them is quite long. To make it complete, once again I have to bring up the story of Hitler and India. Let's begin with the first question. Where is Atlantis? According to the story of Plato, the lost city of Atlantis is supposedly located in the Antarctic Ocean. However, in Plato's Critias, one of his dialogues, he said he heard the story of it from his grandfather, who had heard it from the Athenian statesman Solon, who lived 300 years before Plato's time. Solon had learned it from an Egyptian priest who said it happened 9,000 years before that. Scholars and historians from the past most considered Atlantis as a New Age idea. Hundreds of locations have been proposed as the lost city of Atlantis, to the point that the term Atlantis has become a generic term rather than one specific location. Interestingly, most of the proposed sites are not within the Atlantic Ocean. Also, most of the proposed sites share similar characteristics of the Atlantis story, including time period, water, and catastrophic end. Inside the Mediterranean, most of the proposed sites are in or near the Mediterranean Sea because of the location of Egypt from where the story was allegedly derived. The suggested sites in Mediterranean include the islands of Sardinia, Malta, Crete, Cyprus, and Santorini. A massive volcanic eruption on Santorini led to a massive tsunami that experts believe disrupted Minoan civilization on Crete. Some people believe that this was the catastrophe that caused the sinking of Atlantis. Another possible location of Atlantis is Malta, considering its location on the dividing line between eastern and western Mediterranean Sea. Being the location of one of the oldest man-made structures, Malta is considered by the past and present researchers as the possible location of Atlantis. Let's look around outside the Mediterranean. Other locations around the world have also been considered as a possible location for Atlantis. Some of these locations including Turkey, the Black Sea, Indonesia, the Caribbean Sea, Morocco, India, Giringer Mountain, and even Antarctica. Some geologists have even suggested that Atlantis was actually the city-state of Troy. For thousands of years, many had dedicated their lives in trying to find Atlantis, but the real location still remains myth. Is the story of Atlantis real or just a fiction? The debate on the existence of Atlantis is still far from over. Plato described this ancient city around 360 BCE, and for centuries historians considered his writing as an allegory. Many philosophers, including Aristotle, also viewed Atlantis as a fiction. However, some philosophers, historians, geographers, and ancient astronauts have considered Plato's story as truth. Many claim that all the known ancient civilization originated from Atlantis' high Neolithic culture. The evidence to prove Atlantis is real. Why everyone looking for Atlantis? Unquestionably, the major element of Atlantis' story involves their technological powers. As much as Plato could imagine and explained in his era-time knowledge, which also included the story of semi-gods who came from the sky to rule the country, and when they got washed into the sea in one night, the destruction of their civilization meant the loss of advanced technologies that could affect our world. Many evidence was found in different areas in different form of proofs, which make us more positive about this glory-lost island. Today I'll show you one of the evidence which I had mentioned earlier. It's orichalcum. Plato tells us that Atlantis was governed by laws that were inscribed on a pillar that was based in the temple of Poseidon in the center of Atlantis. This pillar was made of a myth Atlantean substance called orichalcum, which means of unknown origin. It was said that the temple of Poseidon flashed with the red light of orichalcum. The copper tint of this metal caught the attention of the seekers that come to the sacred place. These might seem as just the description of spiritual implication. However, in 2015, when marine archaeologists of the coast of Sicily who discovered a shipwreck which had 39 metal ingots inside, and these were orichalcum, this raised the question of, is it possible that Plato's story is actual historical fact? And what was discovered in the shipwreck is the evidence of Plato's story? Orichalcum is 80% copper and 20% zinc. What's interesting about this is that zinc doesn't naturally occur. Zinc only occurs in nature as pellorite. It's a zinc-sulfur complex. In order to create zinc, you have to actually process the zinc out of the sulfide. People from the past didn't have this technology back then. Plato didn't tell us anything about how orichalcum was mined or how it was manufactured. He only said that it was of unknown origin. Well, given its connection with Poseidon and the gods in his story, we can reasonably speculate that it was the gods themselves who taught the Atlantean how to utilize this very powerful substance. Those who could smelt metals, who could work with metals. This was considered to be a gift from the divine realm. This was something that humans didn't naturally do, and was something that had to be from their gods or someone from the sky. According to the ancient astronauts' theory, our ancestors were taught in various scientific disciplines. They were taught the process of metallurgy by extraterrestrials. They taught them how to work metal with primitive means, just to get started with ultimately turning ourselves into the super civilization that we are today. That's all for today, guys. If you like the video, don't forget to like and share. Stay with us by subscribing and press the notification bell icon below to make sure you don't miss our next episodes. Thank you so much for being with us.